These thought-provoking words hint at a profound truth, that symbolic imagery holds the power to unveil wisdom long obscured from human understanding. Could the ancient esoteric tradition of the tarot provide us with the key to unlocking this symbolic language? It is this very question that we will attempt to answer today. To that end, we will examine the tarot's pivotal role in occult and mystical traditions like the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, and explore the close correlations between the tarot's archetypal symbols and Carl Jung's insights into the collective unconscious. But before we unravel the tarot's archetypal narratives, let us start with a short history lesson and look back at the enigmatic origins and cultural roots underlying the tarot's imagery. The tarot deck, this enigmatic array of illustrated cards, has captivated scholars for centuries. Its enigmatic imagery and symbolic depth have since transcended mere fortune-telling, emerging as a profound tool for self-exploration and inner awakening. To fully understand tarot's origins, we need to highlight its ties with the rich cultural traditions of the past. While its precise birthplace remains shrouded in mystery, the earliest documented references to tarot-like cards can be traced back to 15th century Europe. In flourishing Italy, amidst the Renaissance's cultural efflorescence, the first known tarot decks emerged between 1440 and 1450 in Milan, Ferrara, Florence, and Bologna. These early cards, known as the Visconti-Sforza decks, were commissioned by wealthy Italian families and adorned with intricate artwork that reflected the humanistic ideals of the era. Yet, some scholars like Antoine Coeur de Gebelin have drawn parallels between the tarot's arcana and the symbolic language found in Egyptian hieroglyphs. However, his primary citation was a non-existent ancient Egyptian book, which, at the time, he would not have been able to read anyway, as he had no understanding of the yet undeciphered Egyptian language. As the tarot journeyed through the centuries, it evolved, absorbing the cultural imprints of the lands it traversed. In France, the earliest tarot decks were made by the de Poilly family of engravers, beginning with a Minciat deck by François de Poilly in the late 1650s. Aside from these early outliers, the first generation of French-suited tarots appeared around 1740 and depicted scenes of animals on the trumps and were thus called Tiertarot, tier being German for animal. This is how the Tarot de Marseille deck emerged. Once it started spreading throughout Europe, in Switzerland and some regions of southern Germany, the Tarot of Marseille took on a unique form known as the Tarot of Besançon. However, it was during the 18th and 19th centuries that the tarot's esoteric dimensions began to unfurl, as occultists and mystics delved into its symbolic depths. Throughout the centuries that passed since, the tarot's archetypal imagery resonated with the collective unconscious, revealing a profound language that spoke to the very essence of human experience. As we were tracing the tarot's origins across history, we couldn't help but notice the resonance of its symbolic imagery with various occult and esoteric philosophies. In the Renaissance era, as Western occult philosophies took root, the tarot emerged as a prominent map of exploration into the nature of reality and human consciousness. Figures like Marsilio Ficino, head of the Platonic Academy of Florence, embraced the symbolic keys embedded in the tarot's major arcana as gateways into the mysteries of existence. Also worth mentioning here is that, parallel to this, Christophe Ponce discovered Platonic philosophy embedded in the imagery and construction of the Tarot de Marseille, a revelation that propelled him into a profound investigation, unearthing connections between the Florentine aristocracy, the Medici family, Marsilio Ficino, Botticelli, and the heretical philosophical underpinnings of the Italian Renaissance. Ponset's investigation is masterfully presented in his book, Two Esoteric Tarots. In Two Esoteric Tarots, Christophe Ponset and co-author Peter Mark Adams shed light on their journeys of discovery into two wildly contrasting tarot decks, the dark ritual landscape of the elite Solabusca Tarocchi and the luminous and popular Tarot de Marseille. However, it was groups like the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn in 19th century Britain that firmly codified and expanded the tarot's occult associations. The foundational documents of the original Order of the Golden Dawn, known as the cipher manuscripts, are written in English using the Trithemius cipher. The manuscripts give the specific outlines of the grade rituals of the order and prescribe a curriculum of graduated teachings that encompass the Hermetic Kabbalah, astrology, occult tarot, geomancy, and alchemy. Under the guidance of adepts like S.L. MacGregor Mathers and A.E. Waite, the tarot's imagery became a lexicon for exploring the hidden architecture of the universe and the uninitiated self. Each card's symbols, numbers, astrological ties, and geometric forms connect into an intricate tapestry, mapping the journey from limited ego consciousness to the illumination of one's true divine nature. The tarot acted as an illustrated cipher with the ability to awaken intuitive faculties and unlock latent psychic potential in Golden Dawn initiates. Immersion in its symbolic system was seen as a potent means of expanding awareness and achieving union with the higher self. Thus, in the occult revival of the 19th century, the tarot emerged as far more than a parlor trick for fortune-telling. It became a symbolic map for illuminating consciousness itself, a vision of reality's hidden structure and the path to spiritual transcendence. This powerful esoteric legacy ensured the tarot's symbols would reverberate through the modern occult traditions that followed. Of all the esoteric orders that embraced and expanded the symbolic system of the tarot, none had a more profound impact than the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. Founded in 1888 by Samuel Liddell MacGregor Mathers and others, this British occult group meticulously mapped the tarot's imagery onto an intricate qabalistic framework. Though the tarot's esoteric roots can be traced back to Renaissance occultists like Eliphas Levi, it was the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn that catalyzed the deck's symbolic integration into the Western magical revival of the late 19th century. The Golden Dawn looked to the cipher manuscripts of Kenneth Mackenzie for a new, comprehensive order synthesizing ceremonial magic, Kabbalah, astrology, and other arcane traditions. Central to this vision was establishing a revised symbolic framework for the tarot itself. Drawing from Levi's earlier work, mapping the tarot trumps to the Hebrew alphabet and the Kabbalistic tree of life, the Golden Dawn meticulously codified and expanded these correspondences. The 22 major arcana cards were definitively assigned to the 22 Hebrew letters, pathways on the tree, astrological associations, angelic names, and other intricate occult references. The illustrative tarot images themselves took on profound significance as visual keys embodying these multi-layered esoteric attributions. The Fool exemplified the divine spark of Ein Sof, while the Magician represented the elemental forces tied to Aleph, the first Hebrew letter. This complex symbolic framework allowed Golden Dawn initiates to engage in immersive practices like ceremonial rituals, pathworking, and meditations interwoven with tarot imagery and correspondences. The suited cards' numerological values and the court cards imbued additional layers of occult meaning overlaid on the tarot's archetypal narratives. A. E. Waite, the creator of the world's most influential tarot deck, was a spiritual seeker and mystic who supported himself with freelance translation and writing. In 1889, under the pseudonym Grand Orient, he published A Handbook of Cartomancy, Fortune-Telling, and Occult Divination, one of the first books in English on how to read tarot. His fascination with the occult scene drew him into membership in the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, but his spirituality gradually evolved away from ceremonial magic and toward Christian mysticism. When the Golden Dawn splintered into factions, he created his own order, the Fellowship of the Rosy Cross. In 1909, he created the Rider-Waite Tarot in collaboration with Pamela Colman Smith and wrote the accompanying book, The Pictorial Key to Tarot, PKT. Pamela Colman Smith was an influential figure on the London artistic scene who, from 1890 to 1910, collaborated with W.B. Yeats and his brother on various literary projects. Pamela Smith was known for going into a trance and channeling drawings while listening to music, many years before the Surrealists experimented with automatism in art. In 1909, Waite paid Smith a flat fee for illustrating his tarot deck. He chose her for the job because of her talent, their common membership in the Golden Dawn, and because he believed her clairvoyant abilities would help her perceive the higher mystical truths he was attempting to convey with his deck. Smith did research in the British Museum, lifting some images directly from the 15th century Solabusca deck in the museum's collection, notably the 3 of Swords and 10 of Wands. The deck contains many echoes of Smith's illustration style, which shows she had a good deal of autonomy in creating the minor arcana images. Although both Waite and Smith had been members of the Golden Dawn, they did not create a Golden Dawn deck. Waite based his major arcana imagery on Eliphas Levi's and Paul Christian's Egyptianized descriptions of the trumps, as well as Christian symbolism and Golden Dawn astrological attributions. The minor arcana images illustrate a hodgepodge of influences from Etala, the Golden Dawn's book, the 15th century Solabusca deck in the British Museum, and Smith's own imagination. Though a relatively short-lived society, the Golden Dawn established an enduring model integrating the tarot as a prime initiatory tool within the Western magical revival's ideological framework. Their hierarchical systemization of occult correspondences became widely adopted, solidifying the deck's status as a symbolic map for expanding consciousness and facilitating the soul's journey toward illumination. While the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn cemented the tarot's place in Western occult philosophy, it was the seminal work of psychologist Carl Jung that revealed the deck's symbolic archetypes as powerful keys for mapping the collective unconscious. Jung's explorations into symbols, myths, and dreams across cultures led him to postulate the existence of innate, universal patterns embedded within the human psyche, the archetypes. He believed these primordial images and narratives resided in the collective unconscious, shaping our thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors. It did not take long for Jung and his followers to recognize startling parallels between his theory of archetypes and the major trump cards of the tarot. Each card's imagery seemed to embody a specific archetype, playing out its symbolic drama. The Fool, for example, represents the archetype of the divine child, a state of pure potential, innocence, and free spirit unbound by construct. The Emperor mirrors the wise old man archetype's patriarchal wisdom and establishment of order amidst chaos. Similarly, the High Priestess aligns with the goddess or Anima figure, an intuitive, mysterious feminine principle balancing the rational masculine. The Hierophant ritualistic conscious alignment reflects the Logos archetype that structures sacred traditions. The journey of the Fool through the major arcana's stages mirrors the process of individuation, the integration of unconscious elements into consciousness to achieve psychic wholeness. Transitional cards like Death and the Hanged Man represent the archetypal cycles of destruction and renewal necessary for growth. Jung himself engaged deeply with tarot symbolism, recognizing its profound utility as an introspective mirror into the structures of the unconscious psyche. In his studies on personal and cultural amplification of archetypes, he used tarot imagery as symbolic exemplars. Take the Magician card. Its symbolism aligns with the trickster archetype, representing the guided but unrestrained force of creation and transformation, unfettered by conventions. The trickster's duality is reflected in the magician's mastery of both conscious and unconscious realms. The Wheel of Fortune embodies the archetype of cyclical patterns and karmic laws, governing an ever-turning cycle of birth, death, and renewal. Its clockwise and counterclockwise movements suggest the interplay of order and chaos archetypes. Justice personifies an objective, rational archetypal force, the application of universal laws and moral fortitude to balance competing drives for harmony. Simultaneously, her double-edged sword evokes the archetype of the divine feminine's protective yet terrible power. The Devil represents the archetype of our primitive carnal instincts, greed, violence, and lust, unleashed from the fetters of higher consciousness. Yet it also symbolizes the archetype of adversity that must be overcome through awareness of individuation. Even the suited minor arcana can be seen through an archetypal lens. The cups correspond to the archetype of emotions, relationships, and intimacy, while pentacles relate to the archetype of material manifestation and sensory experiences. Jung perceived the full tarot opus as a comprehensive map of the psyche's archetypes, a symbolic mirror reflecting both the personal and collective unconscious. This pivotal realization opened up an entirely new domain for tarot application beyond its occult foundations. Throughout this exploration, we've seen how the tarot's evolution has been guided by two central streams, its roots in Western occult philosophy and its symbolic parallels to Carl Jung's theories on archetypes and the unconscious psyche. But can the tarot actually reveal profound insights about oneself and destiny? The evidence suggests a resounding yes. The meticulous initiatory systems developed by groups like the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn demonstrate the tarot's power as a tool for expanding awareness and achieving higher consciousness when utilized correctly. By immersing themselves in the deck's intricate symbology tied to Kabbalah, astrology, and other esoteric traditions, Golden Dawn adepts like S.L. McGregor Mathers were able to profoundly transform their perspective and relationship to the universe's hidden architecture. Similarly, Carl Jung himself engaged deeply with tarot imagery in his work on psychoanalyzing the amplification of archetypal patterns across cultures and within the individual psyche. The major arcana provided symbolic keys that allowed Jung to develop his pivotal theory of individuation, the process of integrating unconscious elements into consciousness to achieve psychic wholeness. For Jung, the fool's journey through the major arcana mirrored this very process of integrating dualities and confronting archetypal forces within one's own psyche. Meditating on the symbolic narratives of cards like the Hanged Man, Death and Temperance offered insights into the cycles of destruction and renewal necessary for self-actualization. So if these pioneering thinkers were able to achieve such profound personal insights through the tarot, how can we also unlock its transformative potential? Here are 2 key practices to begin your own journey. Learn and reflect on the core archetypal meanings of the major arcana. What do cards like the Magician, High Priestess, or Wheel of Fortune represent about your inner drives, beliefs, and recurring patterns? Allow the images to spark free associative self-inquiry. Develop your own personal symbolic associations with the cards through active imagination exercises. Project your psyche's landscape onto the minor arcana pips. What stories, emotions, or life events do they evoke? Journal these reflections and draw your conclusions. By deeply internalizing the tarot's symbolic system as a mirror into your unconscious mind, you open a gateway into meaningful self-discovery. The cards become portals for giving shape and meaning to your psychic meteorology, a process that follows Jung's dictum: until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Approach the tarot as a guide for illuminating your self-constructed reality and individual destiny. As Jung reminded us, "I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become." Once you understand what Carl Jung meant by that, the tarot becomes a powerful tool for making that choice consciously. If you've enjoyed today's exploration and wish to join the ranks of the Vox Occulta mystics and occultists, consider subscribing to our channel. And because we consider debate to be the most efficient way of discovering absolute truth, we encourage you to poke holes in our theories and bring about your own opinions on the matter in the comment section.